What's up, YouTube? This is 2 Raw 4 TV. Alright, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers for showing love to the channel. Much respect to the brother Aaron. Once again, showing love with the donations to the channel. And he asked me, what is my opinion of the greatest 7-game series in NBA history? I said, let's hear it. This goes back to the 60s, but I have to place the 81-82 Celtics-Sixers series, the greatest I've ever seen at, I was at one of the games at Philly. Yeah, that is one of the greatest series. And I think in many people's eyes who actually could remember that series, that's at the top or near the top all time. That series. Man, you know, there's no right answer for this one. There's no right answer as to what the greatest series are in NBA history. I think it really comes down to oftentimes what's the best series that you've ever seen. The best 7-game series that you have witnessed that really is memorable to you. And I mean, from a historical standpoint, you can bring up the 1962 NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Celtics. And I think you could argue that's the closest that the pre-Chamberlain Celtics got to winning a title. 7-game series. Game 5, that's when Elgin Baylor dropped 61 points, which was the most points ever scored in a playoff game before that time. And for 24 years, that was the record until Michael Jordan broke it. But then in Game 7 of that series, if I'm not mistaken, I think Bill Russell had something like, he had one of the greatest Game 7 performances ever, if not the greatest Game 7 performance ever. I think he had like 30 points and 40 rebounds in that game. So he really brought his A game and dominated that Lakers front line. And that's part of the reason why they eventually got Wilt Chamberlain, because whenever they went up against the Celtics in the finals, the Celtics had a distinct advantage up front because the Lakers centers were never perennial all-star level players until they got Wilt. Another series, the 1969 NBA Finals. You know what I'm saying? That series, I believe the Celtics came back from, what was it, 2-0 deficit, I think it was, in that series to win. Then the very next year, the 1970 NBA Finals, that series went 7 games. That's the series where Willis Reed went down in Game 5. Although the Knicks were able to rally and still win that game. Game 6, Wilt comes back and scores 45 points, looking like the Wilt Chamberlain of old. He might have like 27 rebounds in that game. I can't remember the exact total, but had a dominant performance in that game. But then Game 7, Walt Frazier has the greatest game of his career, 36 points. I think 7 rebounds, 19 assists, 6 steals. And the Madison Square Garden crowd, maybe the loudest they ever were in the history of that building, were the 6 men for the Knicks and able to win that series without a big performance from Willis Reed, who just scored 4 points. The first 2 points for the Knicks, but only 4 points in the first 2 buckets, I should say, for the Knicks, but only 4 points in that game. Other great Game 7s that come to mind. The 82 conference finals, the 81. What was it? No, wait a minute. Was that conference finals in 81? I think it was in 81 when it came back from a 3-1 deficit. Although I do think they played again in 82. No, wait a minute. That's not right. In 82. The Celtics got swept, didn't they? Didn't they get swept by the Bucks in that year? Okay, I was correct. I was mistaken. In '81, that's when they came out from a 3-1 deficit to beat the Philadelphia 76ers. But in '82, they also lost. Uh, they lost to the Celtics. Excuse me, they lost to the Sixers in 7 and '82, 4 games to 3. So it must have been '83 when they got swept by the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, it was '83. All right. There was some other great Game Sevens. 1988 NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Pistons. Oh man, the '87 Conference Finals between the Pistons and the Celtics and the Hawks in '88, and what was that? The Conference Finals. I mean, there's so many. There's so many Game Sevens in recent years. The 2005 NBA Finals, the Spurs and the Pistons. Uh, Two that pop in my head right now that were tremendously memorable and rematches of sorts. The 2001 series between Vince Carter's Raptors and Allen Iverson's Sixers. It literally came down to the final possession. Vince Carter missed that turnaround jumper, which gave the Sixers a dramatic victory. But then, 18 years later, Kawhi Leonard gets revenge on the Toronto Raptors, hitting a shot at the buzzer that bounces in, that eliminates the Sixers and sends the Raptors to the NBA Finals. 2021, Milwaukee comes back from a 2-0 deficit. Game 2, I think they lost by like 40 points to the Brooklyn Nets. They then go on to win 4 of the next 5 games against Brooklyn to win that series in 7. So there's so many great Game 7s. 94 finals. I mean, it's just too many for me to name. The most memorable to me, and I'm sorry it took this long to get to it, as a Bulls fan, is a 1998 Eastern Conference Final between the Bulls and the Pacers. Because that series was not expected to go as long as it did. As a Bulls fan, even though I know that, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Pacers and the Bulls, I think they split the season series, or they won both games. I cannot quite recall the spread. It might have split the season series. But I still thought, going into that series, that the Bulls are going to win it in, I say 5 or 6. That was my thinking at the time. Little did I know that series was going to go 7 games and be the greatest test to the Bulls dynasty. Now you could bring the '92 semis between the Bulls and the Knicks, but Game 7 was a blowout. 1998, that series was close all the way through. There was only one game that was sort of a blowout. I think the Bulls beat the Pacers. I think it might have been game 4. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been a blowout. But anyway, all I remember was the most I remember about that series was Michael Jordan started off really strong in that series. The game where I think it might have been game 3. One of those games, game 3 or game 4, where he scored 41 points. And no. I take that back. It might have been game 2. I think he scored like 41 points because he was presented with the MVP trophy. And I remember him starting out the series really strong, but just the age that he was at that point and having to chase Reggie Miller around, for the entire duration of that series, plus, just the physicality of that series. It took a toll on Mike. And you could tell, his energies were waning. You know what I'm saying? His steals were way down by the last 2 or 3 games of the series. His efficiency was going down. And you know what I'm saying? It was going to take a total team effort for him to beat that Pacers team. I still believe that 98 Pacers team is better than that 2000 team, the one that went to the finals. So ultimately, the most memorable 7-game series for me is that Bulls Pacers series. But it's not the greatest of all time, I know that. But personally, it's the most memorable. Historically, I really don't know. I mean, there are so many Game 7 series. I know the one that people generally tend to think about the most or bring up the most are the Sixers Celtics series of the early 80s. So I kind of agree with Aram historically. The 81 conference finals when Boston came back from the 3-1 deficit, and the 1982 conference finals that the Philadelphia 76ers got revenge. Historically, you could argue those were two of the greatest. But my favorite, like I said, Chicago and Indiana, 1998, because the Bulls earned that one. No trickery from the refs. The Pacers were more than game. And if you watch that series, to be honest with you, the Pacers were the better team. But Michael Jordan just refused, along with Tony Kukoc and Scottie Pippen, they refused to let the Bulls lose that series. Anyway, that's just my take on it. Tell me what you guys think.